Today I'm celebrating Christmas in July by using up 2 sheets of 12 by 12 pattern paper and making 8 cards with no scraps left over. Hey, it's Beth. Welcome. It's Christmas in July over here at Bourbon Creek Crafts. So today I pulled out 2 random 12 by 12 sheets of pattern paper from my stash that I'm going to use along with my retractable tape runner adhesive to make some Christmas cards. I'll be using some sketches to help me out today. The first sketch that I'm using is My Favorite Things sketch number 181. And I'm going to push out the adhesive runner part of my tape runner and use that to add my card mat to my cards. I am making all A2 size cards today, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And in this particular one, I did bring in a red cardstock card mat layer, and then the other one I'm using is the black cardstock as a contrasting matting layer. I just thought the black was a good separation, and it helped the red in the pattern paper stand out. So in this first set of cards, I am making 2 of these. I make one with you, and then I've made another one off camera. I'm using the car with the tree as the focal point pattern paper, and then the plaid pattern is the strip going across the middle. And then to embellish all of my cards, I kind of went through my stash since this was kind of a use it up kind of deal for me. I pulled out 2 random papers from my stash to use up, and then I went through my embellishments and found some embellishments or like sentiment ephemera type pieces that I could use to embellish the cards. And then I also pulled in some pre-stamped sentiments that I had in my stash. So trying to just use a bunch of things up today as I'm making this set of cards. And when I chose my sketches, I kind of chose them as I went along based on the pieces of the papers that I had left. And I was trying to make at least 2 cards from each of the sketches. And I think that worked until the very end. I had some scraps left over, so I'm going to be using those up on the insides of the cards, and then that's what kind of helps this whole exercise be a no scraps deal for me. So there's the other card that I made off camera as well, very similar. Next sketch is freshly made sketch number 419. This one has a piece that kind of goes off the front at an angle. And so to make it easier on myself, I'm going to go ahead and add the pattern paper to the black mat layer, and then we'll orient both of those where I need to have it going off the edge of the card. So I'm not worried about having a black border on the top and right part of the card or of this piece, because it's going to be some of it will be cut off anyway, so it's just cleaner to just take it all, just leave it off. So I'm going to angle it so that it overhangs the top and corner there a bit. So it's not a huge angle, but it is, a little angle. You can kind of see the part that's hanging over. I'll just use my scissors to trim those off. Clean that up, and then can go ahead and add this whole piece to my card mat. So I went with black again on these layers just to help the colors pop. And again, I'm using the retractable tape runner. So some things that I really love. This is kind of become my favorite one. One, because it's really comfortable for me to use. It fits really well in my hand. It's kind of a natural way to hold it. And 2, it is retractable. I don't have to worry about a cap or keeping it up out of the way so it doesn't get stuck to things or it doesn't pick up hair. You could just hit that button at the end and it pushes the tape runner part out or pulls it back in. And then the other thing I really like is this one is refillable, so you can buy the pack of the runners, and then from there on you can just buy the refills and you don't have to waste so many of the actual runner parts, the applicators. Again, using a sentiment from my stash and a random star ephemera piece that I don't even know where it's from anymore. I had found a couple of them and the green worked, so I decided to pull those in for some cards today as well. I will have all of the sketches that I'm using today linked in the description box below for you if you would like to go and pull those to use for yourself. And then I'll also have the tape runner linked in the description box. All of the other pieces, you know, they're, like I said, they're old papers from Hobby Lobby or just random things that I've pulled out of my stash. So there are the 2 cards I made with that sketch. My third set of cards uses My Favorite Things Sketch 600. And this one has black matting layers again. And there are the two pieces of the truck with the tree, or the car with the trees pattern. They are going to be coming in from the top and bottom of the cards, and then there's like the gap in the middle. So when I'm layering these up, I'm not worried about having the black layer on all 4 sides. I only need it on 3. So one of them, I take away the matte border at the top, and the other one I take away the matte border at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere my cardstock matting layer down to the card base, and then can add the plaid paper down, and then I will add those 2 extra pieces. And then when I'm adding these 2 pieces, I'm going to add one to the, I'm going to butt it up to the very top edge of the black card matting layer, like the card mat layer. And then I'm going to butt the other one all the way down to the bottom of that layer. So you can see there, I'm going up to the very edge of the black matte layer, and then I'm going to come down to the very edge of the black matte layer. And then again, I have another sentiment that I had found in my stash that we will just add. And then my second card of this is actually horizontal, based on how I had to cut the papers for the second version. I had to turn, the paper, and so the orientation was a little bit different on the car with the trees pattern, and so I just made it the exact same way. I just had to turn it horizontal. Use another scrap on the inside. So here's this card, and then the horizontal one as well. And for the 4th set, I'm using the sketch. It's CPS 217. And again, I'm able to make 2 of these, going with the black matting layer again. And I think in most of the cases, I use the car with the tree pattern as kind of like the focal point, and then the plaid is more of the matting layer. It just kind of naturally felt better to me, just because the plaid acted more, not as a solid, but more of a solid type pattern, I guess. So we'll add that down. Question for you all: what is your favorite adhesive to use? Have you found one that you love and have been using for a long time? If so, I'd like to know that in the comments below, because I know everybody has different tastes in the adhesive, whether it's a runner of some type, or just the double-sided score tape type, or wet glue. Everybody's got their own preference and style of adhesive they like to use. I'm more of a runner adhesive type girl. I do use wet glue on smaller pieces, or if I need a stronger hold, like more of a permanent hold. Like if it's a Post-it note pad holder or something like that, I will use, score tape or the wet glue for items like that. But everyday use, I'm a tape runner kind of girl. Just trying to get my fishtail ends on here, trying to clean them up a little bit. Apparently it takes forever. And now that I finally have it, I can go ahead and add the sentiment to that black strip and then add that to my card. And I'm just going to add that kind of at the bottom, like towards the bottom of the smaller rectangle panel. And then to embellish this one, I brought in some of the black diamond peel-offs from Love from Lizzie. And I'm just going to add 3 of them kind of in the top right corner there, just like what the sketch calls for. The sketch has like circles though, and I'm just using the black diamonds. Again, went with black just to kind of contrast with the Christmas colors that are on the card. And then I have another scrap that I will add to the inside here. And then this card will be finished. And I did manage to make 2 of these. And the last sketch that we're going to be using is Freshly Made Sketches number 276. And I did only make 1 of these. This was like the last of the paper. And I'm doing 2 cardstock matting layers with this one, and that is because I only had the car with the tree paper left at this point. So I'm going to add that black strip down and then add my pattern paper strip down onto that, and I'm doing that before I put my card mat onto the card base, just in case I need to trim off any overhang. Like if for some reason it's slightly longer than the card mat, which it is, so I can trim that off and then adhere that whole piece down to my card base. And then I have another one of those star ephemera pieces that I'm going to be using, as well as a sentiment from my stash. It felt really good to just kind of use up things from my stash and not like, restamp things or open up a new pack of embellishments. It just trying to kind of use up some of those random pieces or partial, partial packs of things that I had. It's nice to do that every once in a while just to clear some of that out. Using the star to kind of help me get the placement down for my sentiment. And then I can add the star down to the card. And like I said, it did only make 1 of these just because this was the last bit of paper that I had. So once I add this scrap to the inside of the card, that used up 2 full sheets of 12 by 12. So that felt good. And then I'm going to bring in those black diamond peel-offs from Love from Lizzie again. This time I'm going to add them kind of scattered. 1 down there at the bottom right of the sentiment, 1 up above it, like on the top left corner of the sentiment somewhere, and then 1 up towards the top right of the card. Just to add a little bit of extra shine and interest. So here are the 9 cards that I made today using the tape runner adhesive. Again, you can check that description box for the products and sketches that I used. Thank you so much for your time today, and hope you all have a very crafty day.